Welcome back to WoodWorks. This week we're going to be doing measuring and marking. I'll show you just roughly what you need to be doing to start off with to get you a nice crisp line and an even mark all the way around your timber. So the initial start is with your timber, whether it's prepared or whether it's sawn. If it's prepared, which means it's finished, it's smooth, it's planed, don't naturally assume that the timber is going to be 100% square around these four corners. If they're out, your lines that you're going to be marking across the timber will vary, and it will give you an unsquare mark and an unsquare cut. But initially you have to set up what is going to be your face side, which would be this wide side, and your face edge, which is this side. There's two distinctive marks you use for this that give you a reference point every time that you work. The face side mark is that, and the face edge is that. So those two marks are a quick reference guide. Those are the two marks that you would use for putting your tri-square against it. And again on that side. So they're all orientated that the face of the tri-square is always in contact with a face side or a face edge. If you're going to mark a length down with a marking gauge, again that marking gauge to give you a line down your timber would again be from the face edge or the face side. When you're using a new piece of timber, again don't assume that the point of the timber is going to be absolutely square. Even though it's machine cut, it will not be 100%. So we use face side, face edge, and we lose the top 5mm of our timber, and we score a very light line down it, and using a very sharp pencil. If you use a blunt pencil, you're going to wind up with a line that is too wide. Now we mark down the end of our timber like that, and we turn it around again onto the face side, and we bring that up to that line, and we score one line down to join it. We move that round to the other side, and we do exactly the same down the back of that timber, and then we bring that forward and again off of the face edge, and that will give you a perfect meeting point on that side. If one of these edges are out, it will throw the square out, which will then throw your line out all the way around your timber. So you need to be using face side, face edge for every mark you make. That is a reference line. And once you've got that reference line, all your markings are going to be square and straight. Once we've actually marked our line around the timber, we then need to cut a knife wall into the timber along that line, so that when we actually cut it with a tenon saw, it will not tear out the end of the fibres that you're cutting on your good part, on your good side. So we'll be cutting to the waist side of the line, which, as you can see where we've marked our line there, we're going to be cutting on this waist side. We're going to put the square back up to it, and we're going to cut right down that line. And I'll show you how to do that. So we're going to move our square up to the line, and to get a spot on our line, we're going to put the knife just on the corner there, so it's right on the line, and we're going to slide our square up to it, and we're going to run the blade tightly against that edge. As you can see, that is right on the line, and now we're going to continue that round the sides, again observing the face side and face edge. So now we're going to turn that timber onto its edge, and we're going to insert the knife into the little nick from the previous side. Again, we're going to ensure that the square is up on the right side of the timber, which is the face side, and we're going to slide the square up to it, and we're going to carry that cut across. You can see that's still on that line. Now we do not necessarily need to do the other side first, we've already got our line there, so again we can carry on turning it round, keeping the square on the face edge, picking up our line, holding the square tight on it, and making the cut across. We're going to again turn that. Now, as you can see, we don't want to be coming off of the side that hasn't got the face side face edge mark. So we're going to turn that a bit of an angle. And now because we've got the face side mark there and we've already cut this knife line down here, which is giving us our knife wall, we turn that over. We can pick up again the notch on that side, slide up to it and make that final cut. And as you can see, that then connects all the way around, nice and easy, nice and level. So now we've got this initial line down here, we're going to cut just a very small notch behind it, which you can do with a knife. We'll just flick that out, and that will give you a little channel which will help you when you're first starting cutting with the saw, something to pick your saw up into so that you're not out of line. It's a guideline. Now, not only does it serve as a guideline, when you've actually cut along this pencil line that you had, not only have you got a sharp line there, but the fibres of the timber that are coming past that, when you cut that with a saw, will not pick up and feather on the edge, giving you a horrible rough cut on the edge, which I'll demonstrate when we actually go into sawing and cutting. This just gives you a nice trimmed edge along there, and you can do that on all sides all the way around, and that will give you the finish that you'll be looking for rather than the ragged torn edge. Irrespective of whether you prefer to measure in inches and feet or whether you prefer to measure in metric, millimetres and centimetres, it doesn't really matter. You're still going to get a reasonable mark, but whatever job you're doing, ensure that you are always using the same tape measure or the same ruler for your marking. Now we're going to assume we want to cut a piece of timber 150mm long. Use the end of the knife on that knife wall that you cut. Just butt up against it and then slide your ruler up to it. Don't go by guesswork. You slide up to that, and then you can come along and you put a very small tiny dot on your 150mm mark, just something very small like that. You don't need to be putting a massive big mark on it, it will then make it inaccurate. We're going to be using our initial 150mm line that we made with the steel rule, and again observing the face side face edge mark, this will give us our line around, which will be 100% parallel to this one. So we slide our square up to where we've just touched with the pencil, and we mark a very fine line. What I would say is don't keep going across the line. One pass across with a very sharp pencil is all you need. You don't need a lot of pressure. What you will find, if you use a pencil that has got a blunt edge, by going across one with a blunt edge or going across twice, as you can see the difference between a fine line that is accurate and a line that's blunt, or one that is been scribed over twice. That can make a hell of a difference when you cut in your actual mark, because the thickness of that line, if you come to one side of that, if you've got a millimetre or a 32nd of an inch, that can make a difference between something fitting and not fitting. One pass with a pencil straight across, a very sharp pencil, and you'll get an accurate line. We've made our accurate line there. We just score those through so we know not to use them. As you can see, face side and face edge, we're just going to again just pick up that little pencil mark there. We're going to bring a square onto it, and we're going to literally just duplicate what we did initially to make our line all the way round. Now you can see where we line up our ruler with our 150mm line. When you actually look at this one, this is 100% accurately spot on our line. This time we've got to remember the knife wall has got to be cut on this side. We're going to score our line across it. And we're going to turn that round, and we're going to cut our knife wall on this side. So we'll just cut our knife wall right the way down, flick it out on that side. Now as you can see, where we've got the knife line to the right of that, Our knife wall on this side is to the right, our knife wall on this side is to the left. That means that the distance between our original pencil line and our secondary pencil line is now 100% correct. So when you cut that, your part is going to be spot on, it's going to fit. As you can see, we've marked our length lines for our piece of timber. It's really as simple as that. Knife wall after a pencil line and you'll get a nice crisp line to cut to. What we're going to do now is I'm going to show you how to use a marking gauge, and that is for running down the length of the timber, and it will also give you a pre-scored line so you won't have to run a knife down it. And basically you set that to the distance that you want the line down the timber. So if you're looking at a mark that far, you just pop the pin into the timber there. As you can see, there's a little teeny point there, and we slide that up to it and then tighten it up, holding that again on the face edge. We mark from the face edge, and it's literally just hold it, keep it tight against it, make a couple of very fine passes down there, and that will give you a nice even line. So you can see how to run a line. That is really that simple. Providing you keep it pushed against the edge, then you will get a nice crisp line. If it wanders or it tries to pick up on the grain, lift it out and redo it. If you're marking an equal distance from the edge to the line on this side, which for argument's sake would be there, providing you are 100% certain that this edge is parallel to your face edge, you can turn your timber around so that your mark is to that side, and you can use the marking gauge along that side like that. So really, if you're marking something like a tenon, which I'll show you how to do at some point, you can get an equal distance this side to this side. If you're going to be marking a joint, use the actual piece of timber for your dimensioning rather than measuring and trying to set the lines in using a ruler. Although dimensionally you would think they're the same, they are dimensionally different by 1 millimetre. So rather than measuring one and saying, yeah, well, we'll mark that at 44 millimetre and hope that it's going to fit, where your first reference line is and you've cut your knife wall in, what I would suggest you do, use a knife, just pop the knife into that line, put your timber against it, and just by raising that slightly, square that up and push it up to that timber there. So with the timber square, you push it up to the knife. So that's square. You can then remove the knife, holding that nice and tight in place, and using your pencil, just put a very, very fine line down that side of the timber. You know then that dimensionally that is 100% correct. That marking goes for any dimension of timber. Use the timber to actually make your distance marks rather than relying on the tape measure. Marking and measuring, really quick, simple, but there are a lot of mistakes that people make. Number one is the all-important pencil. Make sure you've got a sharp pencil. Make sure you've got a sharp knife, and your cuts, marks will all be spot on. Just practice. So there you go. If you need any more information, drop a comment in the box below. But thanks for watching. If you like what you've seen, don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you again in the next video. Thanks for watching.